Welcome to this video series where I'll be teaching you how to clean data with SQL. We have over here a data set that requires us to clean before we can create dashboards, reporting, market analysis, or even BI reports. So we will look at it over here. We have a variety of columns. We also have data that needs to be trimmed and cleaned. We have inconsistencies in the client tier. We also have dates that are null, and we have the amounts that are in multiple decimal places. So you will leave this video learning how to clean data, how to remove duplicate business records. You also learn how to standardize text formatting. You will learn how to clean business categories, how to handle null and blank values, how to convert data into proper date format, and this is a variety of DAX of SQL functions that we are going to learn today. I want you to download this CSV file from the video you are watching, and I'll show you how you can insert that into your database. What you have to do first, if you don't have any database in SSMS, is to right click on the databases over here and click on new database. Give your database a name, and let me call that database Notad, and click on OK. With this database over here, we have tables in here. So this is where all our tables will go in, and we want all of this data to sit inside these tables. So right click on the table, click on new. Okay, it's not here. You need to right click on the database and come to task and come all the way to the bottom and click on import flat file. So our CSV file is a flat file, so you just click on next and locate where that flat file is in your computer. For mine, it's my download, so this is a raw file. I will double click on it and give it a table name. All right, this is optional, but let me just give it a business row in uppercase and click on next. This is the preview. Click on next and click on next again and click on finish and close. Alright, so now that has been connected, all I need to do is to switch my database to use this Notad database. Okay, so over here, this is drop down. Look for the name of your database, click on Notad, and this is currently broken. Probably I need to refresh. Let me refresh my connections, and then I can now go back to, let me click outside the box and just make that active. Just for a moment, it's becoming not responsive. Okay, let me connect to the database engine again in case you are experiencing this issue. And since here is grayed out, I'll just attempt to execute this query. So let me see all the results from the table. Okay, it's going to attempt to connect to my database, and okay, that's been connected. Now I have an error because it's connecting to this database. Now I can click on the drop down and select Notad and execute. Okay, so this is all the data we have. Look at the number of rows, 2049, but we need to identify duplicates. So let's begin with the first task here, identify duplicates. So I'm going to write select star. This means everything. This is going to fetch all the columns, but I'll press comma just to insert a new column as well. From the table I want to see all the results is called business order row. All right, and then I come over here, and then a new row here. I want you to, before I do that, let me just run this without the without the without the comma. Okay, so these are all the data, just to verify that as well. So what I'm going to now do here is let me show you 3 results. I want to see the order ID, comma, and I want to see the business ID as well. and as well the business name. So if there are duplicates, I should be able to find all of this. So we will use the row function in Excel, row number, that will look into all of the rows and see if there is a duplicate, it will be a 1. If that same row as well appears to be a duplicate a second time, the row number will be a 2. Okay, so that is, and if there are multiple rows, it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So that's how we can spot rows that have duplicates. So this, you must also make sure that your row number is in open and closing parentheses. The next syntax is to do the over, because you want to assign the row number over columns. Now, because we have two columns here, we have the order ID and the business ID. So we have to look, and these are like the primary keys. These are the very important information. We would like to partition that by these two columns, order ID and as well the business ID. And when we have that row number partitioned by these two, we want to order it by the order ID. So you can either order it ascending or descending, but if you don't write ascending and leave it like this, it's still going to order it in ascending order. So that's starting from 1, 2, 3. So this is a column. I'm going to give it an alias as row number. Now we can't so if we can run this now, and then you can see over here that this is the row number 1, so there is no duplicate. But if we look over here, row 26 and 27 are duplicates. So this is the first duplicate, while this is the second duplicate. So 27 is the second duplicate. Let's go all the way if there's any other one again, all the way down. Okay, I just spotted one again, somewhere in row 221. So you can see that that is a duplicate. So what we want to do now is to remove or keep only the ones that have a 1. Those are the unique values. We need to use a concept called common table expression. So we will put all of these results inside a table and filter only the rows number that are 1, or the column with the RN equal to 1. So we put it here with this can be this CTE, can be whatever name you give it, but let me call this removing duplicates as the name of my table, as open the bracket and close the bracket over here. Okay. So with removing duplicates as this, I'm having this error, so I need to just continue my code. So I want to view everything from removing duplicates. I think I have an issue here with the name. Probably I need to, let me just check something. Let me just put a simple name that I always use with CTE as this. So let's start from CTE. Okay. On a closer look, it's supposed to work. Let me scroll up. Oh, this is why I'm having the issue. So this statement here is conflicting with with what I'm writing over here in row 26. So let me comment out this block of code. So highlight it and click over here where we have comment out this the selected lines. Okay, so once that is out, you can see now my common table expression is working. So I can continue writing it as removing duplicates. So everything here is in a table, so you can see. So everything fits into this table. So I can now come out of that table and say select everything from this table here. Okay, from removing duplicates, where let me give this table an alias as R, where R dot, these are all of my columns in this table here. This, let's call it a mini table or a AI mini table. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, but I'm only interested where this fourth column Rn is equal to 1. Okay, so these are the row numbers that are unique, they don't have duplicate. And when you execute all that, we have 1999 rows, and remember earlier we had 2000 and something else. So these are all the unique values in here that don't have a duplicate. If I want you to see all of the columns in the original data set, I could just replace all of this ones with an asterisk and a comma. Remember, everything here goes into this table. So if I then run everything from here, or everything, I will see all of the table and the row number that is in one. So that's how you will remove duplicates from your table. Okay, you need to identify the two columns you want to partition by, and then you are ordering it by the column that is the primary key. So that's number one done. Number two is let's standardize text formatting. So if you look into the business name column, let me zoom out a bit. So if you look into the business name column, you can see that we have them in uppercase, some in lowercase, and in so on and so forth. So let's just standardize everything to be in uppercase. All right, so let's standardize everything to be in uppercase, and we'll be building on with what we have over here in this table. So we know we have everything here. So I will just pick the order ID. All right, so I'm just building back to bring in my columns, and as well the business ID as well. This time around we're going to use the upper function. Don't forget to open and close the bracket. Sorry, put the upper function in the column business name. All right, and so we have closed the bracket, comma. So we're going to move this one, and let me see why I'm still having this issue again. Do I have any ones on top? No. Let me run it. Let me see what my error will be. Okay, so no column name was specified for column 3 of removing duplicates. Okay, so that's because I've used the upper function here, but I did not give this column an alias. So I need to put as business name. So if I execute this, we now have everything now in uppercase. If you want to use all small letter, all you have to do is remove this upper and change it to lower. If I run that, we have everything in lowercase. So I'll just use lowercase for this. However, whilst we are trimming, we also have to account for leading spaces, empty spaces before the text and after the text. So we have two functions we can use. We can either use a trim, but to trim all text before and after. But because you might be working on some other databases, let me use the two functions LTRIM, which will remove all spaces to the left side of the text. So LTRIM, open bracket, and at the end we put everything here inside the LTRIM to remove all text from the left, and also we're going to use the RTRIM, like you rightly guessed, which will remove all the leading spaces at the right side or ending part of the text. Okay. So then when we execute that, we have accounted for that. We can't see that, but that's how we are cleaning our data. Okay, so what's the next thing we need to do? We have clean account handles. We need to standardize the DMA region names. All right, so let me look at what our data looks like before and after. So I'm going to come over here and I want to uncomment the selected lines, and I will run that query. So we have the DMA regions. What is the business objective we need to learn? How to standardize the business name. Okay, so let's also just put everything as well inside inside the lowercase with the same LTRIM and RTRIM as well. So what I would do is I'll just copy this line of code and paste it as well, and only change the name of the column inside to DMA underscore region, and as well change the column name to DMA, right? Let's call it DMA. Let me put all lowercase, DMA underscore region. And let's run that block of code. We have an error. That's because I have this select statement up here conflicting with the results. Okay, F5. So all the column names have now been, standardized, and now it's all in lowercase. The next one I want to show you now is how to handle null and blank values. Okay, let's handle null and blank values. So if I comment this again and execute, where we have if you look into, even in the account handle here, we have some null values. So we can use the function called COALESCE or isNull. So for the account handle, so let's put the account handle is after business name. So we can just put a null line here and use the isNull. Okay, or let's use COALESCE. Yeah, so COALESCE will just be what we use to replace that. So COALESCE account handle, and if that is the case, yeah, but I just remember that it will be best to also trim the account handle as well. So let me use this column name here, copy that, I'm going to paste it, and also replace the name in the column with account handle, and the name of the column is going to be account handle. All right, so we're going to use COALESCE. Let me bring that as a new line so it's easier for us to read. So COALESCE, that is replacing if there is a null value over here. If there's a null values, we want to replace that with missing handle. Just missing handle. Whenever you are typing text, you always want to put that in single quotes. I'll need to close my bracket now for the COALESCE. Okay, but you can see now, I can see I made a mistake. You can see this line is highlighted, so it's telling me that the bracket I'm closing is not for the COALESCE. I want to make sure this is active, so I need to go back and look like I need to put this one inside here. So let me paste that and then check. Okay, and then let me remove this guy here, and let me check again where that line is sitting. Perfect. So you can see now it's now covering. This is the closing parenthesis for the COALESCE, and there's a I need to put a comma over here at the end. And if I'm having any issues, of course that's because I haven't put a comma here. I need to put a comma at the end of every column. So perfect. So everything now is clean, and I need to, this is because this one is still active. So if I comment this one out and run that query and run it again, so we have we've replaced all of our nulls with a missing handle. Do you see it here? So all the nulls have all been replaced with missing handles. Okay, the objective is, when we are done, you're going to see how I'll connect all of these to Power BI, and we can create a report. So continue watching. The beauty is in the details. We're almost there. We're going to now learn how to convert dates, and as well learn how to use we're going to use the case when to group data into categories. So if you look into our raw data that we have, okay, let me uncomment this guy. It's block of code. The order date, we're just going to use a cast function, and as well the is null as well. So for the order date, let's replace the null. Let's clean the business date, which is very, very good. So for the order date, we can use the is null, where we say the order date. We put the order date into the is null function, and we can now then just put a particular date for ourselves. We can put 3000/01/01, okay, as order date. So that's just going to be a flag that is a date that doesn't make sense. So we can quickly identify all of these dates inside our inside our results as well. Okay, so by now I'm not going to run it because I don't want to block this one again. I'll show you. Let's just move into the next one, which is let's convert the spending into numeric format. Okay, so look at the raw data. The order column, we have them in multiple places. Let's format this into 2 decimal places. So for the order amount, we're going to use the same COALESCE, which is like a null is null. We'll put a 0 for that, and we can cast that as a decimal. Okay, over here, so you can use is null. Okay, if you want to use the is null, then you put the order amount and put a 0. That's going to replace all the null with 0, and then you can cast that. We can now cast that. Okay, we can cast that as a decimal, and we want to put that in 2 decimal places as order amount. So if you have the cast is used to convert a particular date or a number into your preferred data type. So if you have a column that is a date and as well it has time, and you only want to have it as a date, you can cast that column as a date. Okay, so that's the technique we're all using here. You can see I have an error here, so let me check if probably one bracket is missing, and that's because it's missing here. Then I put a comma, and we are very good making progress in this video. Very good. So keep on to watch the end. Subscribe so that you can get notifications of when the next video will be coming up. We need to then standardize client tiers, where we're going to learn how to use the case when. So if you look over here in the gold in the client tier, we can decide to group customers who are probably, let me look at the business type here. All right, let's see business. We can tell it to group customers who are in marketing and technology, and we can say everybody should be in marketing slash technology. But before then, let's convert all the marketing type to all lowercase. Okay, let's convert all the marketing type to all lowercase, so it makes sense. I think I'm going to use this one, so we can have the marketing type over here, and I'm going to replace this one. You rightly got it right, with marketing type. I'm supposed to be getting the name of the column as I'm typing along. So what is the issue? Oh, it's business type. Yeah, business type, and the name of the column is business type. This time around I want to put everything in lower. So lower comes before, we go to the end and put the closing bracket for the lower as well. So that's everything in lower. So then I now want to group if it's hospitality and finance. So I want to show us how we can use the case when. I want to comment this block out so that when I run my code, I can see how my data is looking like now. So we have business type. So we're going to use a case when logic. This is what we want to use here. Okay, so let me come over here. Still in this same column, I can decide to have a new column, which I will do. So I will do case when. Okay, case when this column here, everything in this column, when everything in this column in what did I just decide now? Let's say in finance and also in retail. You see how I segmented them? So if any of them is in finance, you can see it's in single quotes separated by a comma, and the next one you can keep on put multiple of this condition inside these parentheses. Then we can say then this should be finance slash retail, or whatever you want to name it. All right, if you have another logic, you can do another when. Let's still do another one. Okay, let's still do another one. I'm just going to copy and paste. So when the business type is in hospitality, hospitality, and as well logistics. Then we can name that as hospitality logistics. Hospitality and logistics. Just be very careful that how you spell your hospitality matches what you have in your data. Otherwise, that condition is not going to be met. Do I have any condition? No. Then I come back and I say else. If nothing is found, then you just give me the business type. Business type. Before that, I think the logic is case when this else business type end as, then the name of the column here is going to be, let's say, business type grouping. Business type group. I press a comma because that's the end of the logic. Okay, so let me just indent it here so you can see how we started from. So that's how you use the case when. So case when there is else business type and so if it doesn't find any of the business type that matches finance and retail, okay, then it's going to give us the business type, which is whatever is found in the column. All right, so if I run this now, invalid column name business type, let me check, did I, oh, you can see I made a mistake in my spelling. E business type, exactly. If I execute that, so look at it over here, let me zoom in for you. So you can see this is a new column. So if it's a finance, the new group is finance and retail. If it's hospitality, it's now grouped in hospitality and retail. So this is how you use the case when logic for you to do your grouping, and we can do a lot of grouping here. All right, so we've learned, I think we've touched every function. LTRIM or RTRIM, lower, upper. NULLIF is the same thing like the if, like the is null or the COALESCE. We've done case when. TriCast is also used to, I use a cast instead of the TriCast, that will also work. We've used no number, partition by, order by. TriConvert is also going to do the same like a cast when I use that to format the currency into decimal places. I'm going to touch on the replace because if you look over here in the order ID, you can see that we have 3 letters and an hyphen before the order number. So if for the sake of simplicity, we might decide to remove all the 3 letters and as well for the business ID as well. So just for standardization, so you know, okay, the numbers are 1003092 instead of the ORD. So to do that kind of cleaning, we're going to use the replace function on the business ID as well, on the order ID. So we're going to use replace. What we want to replace, the expression here is the column you want to replace, which is order ID. What do you want to replace is ORD hyphen. That's what we want to replace out. And we want to replace that with comma. We want to replace that with nothing. So that's single quotes, so that's nothing, and I close my bracket, and the column here is going to be order ID. Whenever you use a function in a column, you always have to give it an alias because it will not be able to be interpreted by the compiler. So I have all of these errors. That's because I haven't put a comma to separate this column for the next column. Okay, so let me execute my query now and take a look at the first column. All the ORD has gone off as well, so my data is clean. I'll do the same thing for the business ID. Okay, so let me use the same replace. This is the column. What do I press a comma, it's already there. What do I want to remove? BIZ with an hyphen, close the text, comma, and I want to replace that with nothing. I close my bracket as business ID, press the comma. So I'm going to execute, and I think I have a very good clean result now. I don't need this last column RN. So if I come over here, I can comment it out and execute. I have an error because I haven't removed this comma over here. So let me execute, or rather let me see. Oh, I need to include this column because that's the column that removed duplicates. Okay, I need to remove that column because that's a row number that removes duplicates. Let me just put the comma back and execute that. So we have 1999. Now we're going to create a view, and that view is what will feed into our Power BI and our Excel so that the data can be easily connected to these softwares for visualization without heavily imparting database results. We don't want to do anything that will affect our live production database. And as well, if we also have new data that comes in into this table, that is being fed into this table from whatever source, we can always update our view, and we don't have to repeat all of this process always again. So we're going to create a view. Okay, so to create a view is very simple. We just need to use the word create view as, and the name should be, let me check, let me use business data clean. Okay, let's use that as an open the bracket and check. Okay, so it's going to be, I need to remove the as and do create view, the name as. So this is the view that's going to be stored in this view table. So if I execute that, that has been created. So this is our view here in this table. You see over here, this is the clean data. This is what we will connect as our as a pipeline to our data in Power BI, which I will show you shortly. So what if you want to modify this table here and you want to then update your view? But before that, let me show you how you can bring in this view. So if we right click on this view and let's just say select everything or 1000 rows. This is our clean data. Okay, stored in our table with how we can make use of this data. We can interact with this view, and it doesn't affect the raw data and the source data in the table. So we can play around with this while our main data is still intact without any issue. Let's say you want to go back now and you say you don't want, you want to have you want to let's say for the biz you want to put a y, for example. You want to replace it with a y, and you can see if we go ahead and say execute the query, we already have a view that has been created already in this our database, but you want to modify the view. Instead of that, you will replace the create with the word alter. Okay, so if I alter this view now, that has been successfully created, and this is the query over here for the view. You can see it, the column B doesn't have the Y, but if I execute the query again, we now have the Y. All right, so that's how you can modify your view for your analysis. So let me get rid of the Y and still use the alter. So that's been refreshed now, and I'll show you how we can plug this into Power BI. Okay, for our analysis. So just a moment, let me open up Power BI, bring up my Power BI. So this is my Power BI, and let's say I want to connect this data. So I get the data and I want to connect it to SQL Server. So the server I need to connect it to now, let me move back to SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio, and then copy my database name. So if I right click here and I click on, I think I click on connect, and I'm going to copy this database name, cancel, and I'm going to paste it here. The data connection mode I want to have here is import mode, because that is going to only fetch the data for my data and reduce system resources as well. And when you use direct query, you have live instant access to your database, but you will pay the price of data and performance constraints. So I'm going to click on OK and allow my Power BI to connect to my database. These are all of my databases. Okay, so the one I'm working on with Notad. So if I expand the Notad database, you can see I have the view and I have the raw table. So I'm going to click on the view, which has all my data that has been cleaned, and I could either transform data if I want, or I can load the data into the table. Let me just click on load, so we can see the data now in Power BI from my database. You are now seeing the pipeline, the process. And if I show you over here, let me collapse all of the views. We now have a new table that has been brought in here, and all of these columns. So in Power BI, let me just quickly create a report for you. Let's say we bring in the table of all of the business names. Okay, these are all of the business names, and probably the order amount as well. All right, you see, this is some of all of the order of the business name. You can do your report here. Let's use another report. Let's say it's business type and order amount, and probably a bar chart as well. So you can see how this is just one report in Power BI that has been connected to our database with data we have been cleaned. So what now happens is when new data gets installed into the table, this row, okay, when probably we have data that another CSV file that comes in next month, and then we plug everything here, or we update this table with information, all we have to do is to go to this view, and then we can just refresh the view, or we can have this query here. Where is this query? So we can save this query here, and all we have to do is just alter the view, execute the code again, and our view becomes updated. We've already connected that to this report. So when we click on refresh, the data becomes updated. That's the entire pipeline. And if you've had value in this video, you've learned something, drop a comment, drop a message. If you also want one-on-one training and classes, we can have that conversation as well. So I'll see you in the private community for where we mentor and train. And if you want to be a member of the private community as well, I'll just send email to trading@intelligencewithdata.com. Do have a lovely time and happy data crunching.